told ABC News he thinks an agreement with Iran will be reached over the next week. President Trump spent his time in meetings, including calls with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the leaders of Hezbollah through intermediaries. He posted on Truth Social he thinks the negotiations will continue at a rapid pace. In an interview with CNBC News, the president did not sound as optimistic. Here's what he said.
Well, the patience of the president is being tested. The patience of the electorate is being tested. Welcome into Wake Up, Missouri. Another backslide in the Iran-U.S. conflict and the negotiations put on halt by Iran unless Israel and Hezbollah stop the nonsense. President Trump in a terse call with a few F-bombs, according to sources reported in Axios, to Netanyahu. And guess what? The bombs from Israel stopped dropping and the action against Lebanon happened. So it sounded like they had a little bit of a dust-up. Welcome into Wake Up, Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler, along with John Marsh and Drake Whitman, and the whole gang's here. John, another promise not kept, another negotiation stalled, another opportunity for Americans to say, when is something going to happen here? With a big election day across the country today in primaries from Maine to all over. You know, in Michigan, I think there's another one. So lots going on.
Yeah, that's one of those deals. And now we're hearing the reports out there, published reports, say a top senior Iranian official says back to war with the U.S. is inevitable. And it sounds like he's on the money to me.
Yeah. And I imagine if Donald Trump is going to go back to war, it's not going to be the Iranians that decide that. He'll decide that. I mean, we're already having strikes against military targets inside Iran. I mean, that's been going on now for, a week plus with these, quote, defensive strikes.
And then the Iranians shooting at the military base at Kuwait.
Yeah, yeah. And if they think they're going to gain traction by attacking the neighboring states, at least according to people I've read that have been asking those questions of administration officials, they're saying no. I mean, and of the people in the area, they're still pretty solidly aligned with the United States. I guess one exception might be Oman. They seem to be trying to play both sides, sort of playing the neutral. Almost, I saw one article talking about Oman as the Switzerland of the Middle East, but they have an interest in the Straits too, because they're on the eastern or the western side of the Straits.
Yep. So it's kind of dicey again, and then and who are the Gulf states? By and large, going to side with in this? We're not the ones shooting missiles or flying drones over their property and crashing into everything from hotels to refineries.
Yeah, and you have to wonder too about who's going to at some point get the attention of whoever is in charge over there in Iran. I think that's part of the problem. It appears as though there's last time we talked to Colonel Bucci, 2 or 3 different factions that are claiming to be spokespeople, want to be the lead dog, and I don't think anyone over there is really the lead dog right now. Although I guess the IRGC continues to control the military power in terms of the control of the people and therefore, keeping them suppressed.
Yeah, and I think Fox News reported, was it just yesterday, that they said the president of, the Iranian House, Senate, Congress, whatever.
Yeah.
That he told, that he told the latest Ayatollah that he was resigning.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
So they can't decide what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's the old deal of you need a scorecard to tell the players.
Well, meanwhile, everyone's suffering when they fill up their tank at the pump, and I think, some of the other things that ripple through the economy.
Well, wait. It has gotten better, though. Have you seen gas prices? They are great right now. I've got gas at under $4 yesterday.
I would like to contest your comment about great.
Yeah, you're right. It's better. It's better.
Thank you.
But
relative.
You're saying that there's so many leaders of these different factions in Iran. Mm-hmm. Simple solution: kill all of them but one. I mean, maybe draw a name out of the hat.
Well, we tried, and there was the first tier, then the second tier, then others kept emerging. It's like whack-a-mole. It never gets better.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can. There's only so many Iranians, Randy. I mean.
90 million.
90
I think
million.
is the number.
And on this side of the pond, we have this interesting story, this human interest story with Graham Plattner, married to his wife for 3 years, going on 3 years, married in 23. Apparently she had told a campaign staffer about some sexting that he had done into their marriage. That leaked out. He's now facing that. He's got the Nazi tattoo, not only a Nazi tattoo. I understand the tattoo represents what the Nazi prison guards wore and gas chamber guards. So it's even worse, I think, in one sense, because they were there at the moment of the executions, and that's what that represents. She records a long 5-minute video the other day, a little bit of that.
Oh, I think I'm feeling angry today. And I don't normally make public statements, but it's really important for me to tell all of you out there, especially people who are voting in Maine, that I think it's shameful behavior to spend time and energy and resources on negative ads and negative stories on Graham when all he's trying to do is improve the lives of people who work for a living.
So she's trying to do some damage control in behalf of her husband, Graham Plattner, who has so much baggage that it would bankrupt you if you checked it in at the airport at a $50 per case. You know, it would be bad. The guy is just a disaster area. But, you know, this is the time when people are, the populist era, people are looking at folks that are like us, right? They're sinful, they're flawed, and they're getting tired of slick campaigns with slick messages and negative messages on the other side. And, I don't know, maybe this will resonate. I think a lot of the Democrats are retracting. Adam Schiff, for whatever that's worth, Cory Booker saying, well, that's what elections are for. You know, I'm going to hold my judgment right now. I think they got a problem because Susan Collins finds a way, despite what the polling says, to really come through at least the last couple cycles.
I mean, we've seen it on our own side, right? When we thought we were going to have a big red wave in the last midterms, we really got tanked by some specific candidate quality issues. Mm-hmm. And you think the Democrats might have learned from some of that, and apparently they didn't. It's
really true. I mean, the people that I know that are pretty progressive in terms of their social policies, what they think should be the social policies, don't really live that in their own lives, right? They live very conservatively in their own lives. And I think that when you see this kind of behavior publicly out there, that's not an aspirational value you want to see in your candidate. And
I would say we're not immune from candidate quality issues, as I just referenced. But I think right now the Democrats are beating us on low candidate quality. And just to the extent, I mean, It'd be weird to me because, of course, they know what the opposition research is. They knew about the tattoo. They knew about these texts. So to just, like, charge forward with the candidate that you know, all this stuff's going to come out.
Well, this guy, had a Nazi tattoo on his chest till he realized it wasn't politically advantageous.
He's taking half-nude pictures and posting it on an app that, like, targets children.
He lied about being poor. He went to a boarding school, apparently a fairly wealthy boarding school. He rooted for military members to get killed. He denigrated a guy who was, later honored and because he was out of shape and whatever. Made fun of a military service member in action. I don't get it. I mean, he's like a serial problem child. But there's enough people out there. You got to wonder. It's like, what is it you see in this cat? Maybe again, like I said, maybe it's an absolution of our own sinfulness to say, hey, there but by the grace of God go I. I'm a sinful person. Look at Bill Clinton. Look at Donald Trump. People make mistakes. I make mistakes. I don't elect a pastor. I want someone looking out for my paycheck, by golly.
If I was in, like, the establishment Democrats and I was, like, in charge of managing these fools, right? I would, whether you're talking folks on our side or, who was the guy who was taking the gold bars? You got the one guy pulling the fire alarm.
Menendez.
I'm secretly hoping this guy doesn't get elected, because if he does, now I have to manage him through the term. And inevitably, this type of behavior, I don't think like you just flip the switch once you're elected and you like cut it out. I mean, it's not, ugh.
Yeah. Bottom line is, can they find somebody, maybe a better candidate than this guy, like Randy said, with all of his banker up you at the turnstile baggage?
Well, I'm not aware of any baggage that Taylor Burks has, but we'll ask him about that when he comes in at 7:35. All right, that's 7 o'clock. That'll be our first question. Taylor, tell us about your baggage. He's running for Congress, 5th District in Missouri. He's a good sport. He'll get a kick out of that. He'll handle it.
And yeah,
he's a good guy.
He's run before, and I think I think
Taylor.
we would
Good
know anything had he had. Any
Good man.
baggage.
He meets people well. He's always upbeat about things, and a service member in his own right.
Oh yeah.
He'll come in and visit with us at 7:08. We're going to talk with Casey Crosby. She's the vice chair of the Republican National Committee. We're going to ask her about little pushback from Congress. I think Congress is trying to wrest back some power from the president, and how she feels about that. Casey does, in the light of these midterms coming up, with a lot of, we have, several senators being either retiring or being dethroned, as Donald Trump has made other makers, the kingmaker Trump, out of primary candidates. Thomas Massey, did you see that? He filed for re-election in the district he just lost for 28.
Yay.
And yesterday, Columbia police had to deal with the hotel right next to our studios here. We're going to talk to Brian Hauswirth about that at 6:35. That'll be interesting to see if he knows any more about that. I sure wish they could find the people that make those kind of threats, because it was certainly more than an inconvenience to people. It's frightening. And if you have young children and you're in a hotel and all of a sudden you have to evacuate, they don't know what's going on. It's frightening for them. These kind of crimes that don't have an approximate victim, I think need to be rooted out. I felt strongly about that. I hope the investigation leads to something. We'll check in with Brian on that. And speaking of bombs, at least 5 people dead, 3 missing after a World War II bomb in Indonesia exploded. A World War II bomb. Wow. Don't play with old bombs. Jill Biden should know about that. Don't play with, she unleashed a bomb with her book tour recently. Wow. Back with the Daily DC Rundown. Stephanie, in a sec.
It's Wake Up Besides being the common sense American, it's the look around candidate. You look around and see with your own eyes what I'm saying, and it's true. And that's why I'm going to win, because my opponents just lie, and they've had 10 years combined that they've created everything that they are looking around and seeing.
That's Spencer Pratt. Here's Stephanie with the Daily DC Rundown.
Well, we should find out today if common sense will prevail in the LA mayor's race. Spencer Pratt, certainly the polling is showing he has picked up quite a bit of steam, but certainly still is anybody's ball game there. Today is California's primary. We're also watching the California governor's race after Congressman Eric Swalwell dropped out. It looks like former HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra has surged into first place. Of course, California has jungle primaries, meaning the top two vote getters advance regardless of party affiliation. So there's the potential there that, two Republicans could advance, which would be interesting. So we'll have a full report for you tomorrow morning on that. We are also watching what is happening with respect to Iran. Of course, yesterday we got conflicting reports. Iran said that talks had been suspended. President Trump said negotiations are continuing at a rapid pace. Of course, this is after we saw Israel strike Hezbollah, and then Trump said he called Netanyahu. And Axios is reporting that Trump is frustrated with Israel. And Trump said, okay, everyone calm down. And I've calmed everyone down, and there's not going to be any further strikes. That was, 24 hours-ish ago, less than 24 hours ago. It's rapidly evolving, Randy. So.
And things stopped, apparently, after that call where Trump dropped more than one F-bomb and said, what the F are you doing? What the F's going on? I mean, he was pretty angry, reportedly, with Netanyahu.
Yes. Also stopping is Trump's anti-weaponization fund. He had proposed this $1.776 billion fund for alleged victims of political prosecutions. As Congress returns, it was really stalling the reconciliation bill that includes funding for immigration enforcement. Even Republicans were skeptical, and so it looks like they're going to drop that, and hopefully that will keep Congress rolling. We've also got a new Border Patrol chief. Rosario Pete Vasquez has been named the new chief of the U.S. Border Patrol. He has spent more than 26 years working with Border Patrol. Also, with respect to the border, Mark Wayne Mullen, the DHS secretary, threatened to pull Customs and Border Protection officers from airports and sanctuary cities. Airline industry folks and airline groups said, hey, that's going to create massive delays and cause disruptions. We'll see where that goes. Also, we are kind of having a pandemic-ish. Moderna is receiving $50 million to develop an Ebola vaccine. There's no currently approved vaccine for this particular strain that's causing all of the issues. The outbreak has caused more than 900 cases and over 220 deaths in Central Africa. We are also watching what's going on in SCOTUS. They are getting ready to make a lot of big decisions. We will talk at some point about what is still on the table there. But yesterday, a federal appeals court ruled that current service members cannot be removed solely because they are transgender. This does not apply to new enlistments. The court allowed restrictions on new enlistments to remain in place. Pete Hegseth says the Pentagon will appeal this ruling. And Mondami is doing something kind of cool. The Knicks are making their first NBA Finals appearance since 1999. Mondami signed an executive order saying kids can stay up past their bedtime to watch the game.
And he won't go to the Jewish parade. That's Mondami. Well, we're back on Wake Up Missouri. Don't know if you've been following this story, but the left continues to, I think, self-destruct when they talk about the mistreatment of these illegals. You put that together with the riots where police, did you see an ICE officer got bit the other day? They showed the injuries.
Yeah, a pretty good chunk out of the
Yeah,
guy's
took a rip
arm.
out of his arm, yeah. And that's just not a good look. And then you see, I think Hakeem Jeffries was out there the other day. We've seen various Congress people. One got arrested in a different protest. Tom Homan went out there and made a visit, and he had what sounds like a kid's, a high school lunchroom meal.
But we got to remember what started all this. You got Democratic lawmakers on Memorial Day making false allegations about the facility, about the food, the medical care, hunger strikes. I went into that facility. I went to the medical. I went to outdoor recreation, indoor recreation. I even made a surprise visit this weekend and walked into the cafeteria and ate the same meal that the detainees around me were eating. And I made sure my tray equaled their tray. I had spaghetti and meat sauce. I had beans. I had green beans. I had bread and rolls. I had drinks. I had dessert. The food was good.
Sounds like a day at school, doesn't it, Brian Hauswirth? Remember the spaghetti with meat sauce and green beans and rolls and butter? I mean, doesn't sound like abuse to me unless, does that mean all of the school children in Springfield, Columbia, and Jefferson City are being abused? I mean,
It's an interesting time.
Journalistically, though.
Only during the school year, right?
Journalistically, I mean, there's got to be a truth here, right? Either these detainees are under inhumane conditions or they aren't. And I think it's being misrepresented by the left. And I think American people are onto it. I think they've had it. These protests and officers getting bit for crying out loud. Holy cow.
That's disturbing, to say the least.
Well, we had a little scare in the hotel next to our studios in Columbia here yesterday.
This is the second time in about a month or so, Randy, that we have had a bomb threat in specifically in Columbia. Let's talk about the one that happened yesterday, because obviously it was troubling. I normally hear the scanner, and I did not hear this on the scanner until a couple people came into the newsroom and said that what was going on next door, because they were on a different channel at that time. But the bomb threat came in. I went over there and talked to Brian McNeil, literally walked out to the, about a block away.
Brian McNeil is?
He's the spokesman for CPD.
Walking toward the bomb threat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, have to do my job, but the dogs were in there at that point. But he said the bomb threat came in about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. When I was out talking to him, I had to talk to him, and let's just say it was 10:30. The dogs were in there, at least one that I saw in there. They cleared the entire hotel. They cleared them of guests. They also cleared them, Randy and Stephanie, of staff. And they were all those staff members and everybody over across the street at Allstate, searched the entire hotel, brought in the Mid-Missouri Bomb Squad, MUPD's hotel. They had to shut down the road. I couldn't tell how many officers, because some were inside, some were behind, but 15 to 20 at least, I would say, were there. Then they cleared the entire hotel and allowed people to come back in. Took about 90 minutes, about 10 o'clock to about 11:25. CPD's investigation continues, and if anyone has information, 573-875-TIPS is the phone number to call. LG Patterson, who's a well-known photographer here at Zimmer, he took a few photos. I did as well. I've got award-winning, phenomenal.
Hall of Famer, but also for clarity, the road's kind of already closed.
It is, but it is, and I mentioned that on Gary's show, Stephanie, you're absolutely right. However, there were, if you go to 939theeagle.com, you'd be surprised how many cars were trying to get, because of trying to get in Allstate. It was more than I expected. Yeah. And they had to turn everybody around in there. I mean, there's at least 4 that I on the 939theeagles.com website that were there, and a lot more than that, because they were trying, and also to get to New Haven School. Stephanie's right in that you can no longer come out of either Zimmer or Courtyard or even Allstate and make a right at New Haven. That won't be done till the end of June. But bottom line, no arrests have been made. They need the help. They need help from the public to find out who did this. You guys remember as well, in April, someone said there was a pipe bomb. Exactly, the pipe bomb at the Walmart on Conley. They had to bring in the bomb squad on that, and that was
disturbing. Had one at Lowe's in Jefferson City. Remember that one?
Yes.
They arrested a juvenile.
Yeah, they have made an arrest in the Lowe's. They have not made an arrest, and that was in Jeff City. They have not made arrests in either of the Columbia cases.
Quick Check says that making a false bomb report, according to Missouri, is a Class E felony.
Yes.
4 years, up to 4 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Federally, up to 10 years in prison for bomb threats and hoaxes. So you'd sure like to see someone be brought to justice and made accountable for this. I would. I think everyone would. This has got to stop. Think of the terror for families on vacation, maybe stopping overnight here, visiting family on their way to Branson, or who knows, business people trying to conduct business, and and it just it does interrupt people's lives. And the workers there, it's terrifying.
And the motive here, like growing up, we experienced several bomb threats, like at schools, because people wanted to get out of school, and there was kind of this copycat thing going on. You kind of see those security threats at like big public events with like really important public officials. I mean, I love staying at the Courtyard Marriott, but like the president's not over there. You know what I mean? Like in like Lowe's, these is some of it, is it theft? Is it other crime? Like, do we know what the motive for these? It seems like just a weird string of weird places for bomb threats.
Yeah, very much so. No, we don't. Not in the two Columbia cases because they don't know who did it for sure. John, I don't recall because he's a juvenile. I don't recall motive or court documents in the Lowe's case.
I was thinking that we heard, and I can't remember how official it was, but we heard that they were looking into the potential of it being a domestic dispute between the individual and somebody who worked at the place. Had a coworker here when this was all going on yesterday, Brian, said, hey, remember the deal about 10 years ago at the Mizzou Rec Center?
Yeah.
They said they were there at the time shooting baskets when they got a bomb threat at the rec center back in whatever that was, 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, and I remember the hotel governor was a little bit different, but that scared a lot of people as well. There was a concern about potentially a shooter and stuff. This is, I would just add one thing about the April incident. They received specific information on the April incident, police did, because I'm looking back at what police told me. Pipe bombs allegedly have been planted inside the Walmart on Conley, and they had to evacuate all the vehicles in the parking lot there. They brought in CPD's canine explosives dog and bomb technician, no explosives. Ashland police had to come in, the highway patrol. Basically Conley Road there was shut down. I remember going out to that one as well, but I couldn't get really close to the scene because everything was shut down. This one I was able to get a little bit close to, at least get some information. But I just should add one other thing. It's a really tough thing for reporters because when I was starting out, you normally didn't report on bomb threats.
That was pretty much our policy, wasn't it?
Exactly. But, and there's some that we don't know about. But in this case, John, the last two, and Lowe's as well, very public evacuations, roads being shut down. In that case, we have to report it as well. The concern from the journalists that I remember starting with in the early 1990s, if you report on this, it encourages it. I actually feel differently. I feel like by reporting on it, these people should be caught and everything else. The only one that I remember that really was one of the first ones we did was in 1999. It was during the veto session, John, and partial birth abortion was coming up, and someone threatened to bomb the Capitol in Jefferson City, and that got a lot of media attention that there was a bomb scare. But the one yesterday, again in Columbia, no arrest. But if you have information, Randy and Stephanie, 573-875-TIPS, the number to call.
Thanks for that reporting,
thank you,
Brian.
Thank you.
Glad everyone stayed safe and it didn't turn out to be a reality, and it was, in fact, a hoax. Yep. So as more comes about, let us know, okay? All right, we'll do. All right.
I remember one was just a couple sessions ago, the Missouri Capitol. Stephanie might remember. They got one on the first day of session. Got a bomb threat phoned in that turned out to be nothing. 2023 or 2024, maybe.
In contrast to the threat in the last week of session by the Hot Pocket in the microwave that got cooked for 20 minutes.
Did someone leave it on too long?
Burned to a crisp and set off the fire
So
alarms.
instead of 2 minutes, it went in for 20, huh?
I haven't heard the full story. I did see a picture. It looked like it had been cooked for quite some time.
573-874-9390 if you'd like to weigh in on what we were talking about on the text line. If you'd like to call, it's 800-529-5572. 800-529-5572. I did see some dipping in the gas prices. It was good to see. I mean, regardless of what's going on over there. I wonder what's driving that. This is the summer season, summer fuel mix, Iran, more driving, maybe more driving than flying, relatively speaking, because of the cost of flights. And yet, in the midst of all this uncertainty and back and forth, and we have a deal, then we don't have a deal, and, why? I'm fascinated by that. I'm not complaining, but why is this?
I think all the gas companies are conspiring against me because I am moving to a new place this week where I will be driving maybe 10 miles. So, of course, they lower prices as soon as I move to somewhere where I won't need to.
Back and forth and back and forth, yeah.
They're the ones who sick that darn deer on you.
I know. It's crazy.
They put him up to it.
I feel sorry for you, Drake. I mean, we've had those deer hits, and I guess one time the car was totaled. The other time, they were big fixes, and you end up paying for it when you're, on your insurance later. But have you located a new automobile yet?
I'm looking at one today.
The ongoing search for Drake's replacement vehicle.
Oh,
He's been skateboarding here from Chamois.
Yeah.
That's wrong on so many levels, Stephanie.
Hey, here's what's coming up in the show. At 7:08, we talk with Taylor Burks, a candidate for a 5th district, of course, that newly created district. I guess newly modified district in Missouri. And he'll be in studio. And then at 8:08, we talk with Casey Crosby, who is the vice chair of the Republican National Committee. We're going to ask her some tough questions, too, about the midterms and about, how are Donald Trump and the administration's actions and activities in light of so many successes off the bat, some being reeled back by the courts. The judge the other day put a squash on the weaponization fund. Did you see that, Stephanie? There was a ruling on that. Congress, as you reported, has backed off on that. How are the midterms looking, and how are the what's the redistricting score looking like? That's still, I guess, in flux here late in the election season. So Casey, she'll be on with us at 8:08. And we hope you'll stay with us all morning. When we come up, how's your thymus? I'll ask that question on Make Missouri Healthy again.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
make Missouri healthy again, I want to make sure that you're taking care of your thymus so it'll take care of you. Where is the thymus? The thymus sits above the heart, sort of under your breastbone, and it's got a couple of wings on it. It's a lymph organ, and just above the heart. And it's a central organ that's responsible for some of the killer cells called T cells that, as they're selected and mature, and it's a fairly large proportionally organ in babies and in infants. And then over life, it sort of involutes and becomes smaller, and a lot of things influence that. Well, they've done some studies where, a lot of you who may have relatives or maybe personally have a significant smoking history, now it's become standard and good practice to screen for early lung cancer with CTs of the chest and looking for early nodules that then need to be followed in case but they may be nothing and they may be something. Well, they've looked with AI aiding. AI is now certainly solidified its stance in medical evaluation, diagnosis, and research. And they looked at tens of thousands of adults. This is from Mass General up in Harvard, up at Mass General in Brigham, and Massachusetts. And they found that this small organ that really was sort of discarded as something important after childhood actually plays a major role in adult health. And they found that folks that had a little more substantial thymus and a little more maintenance of that and sustenance did well when they got immunotherapies for cancer with about a 50% less mortality rate from their cancer and less progression rate. They found that their longevity was longer. They found that, and this was just by measuring the size and structure and the way the thymus looked. Over life, it tends to get infiltrated with fatty tissue. So watching your weight, not smoking, because inflammation, which also goes along with fatty tissue, are threats to the thymus and indirectly then to very directly, I guess, to your T scores, your T cells. So it's very, very important. And while more research is needed, I can tell you that this recurring theme of inflammation and what it does to various organs, everything from your tip to your toe, the brain, the heart, the thymus, the intestines and colon cancer, on and on, breast cancer, prostate cancer, inflammation indirectly or in many cases very solidly is connected with problems, whether it's functioning of or developing cancer in various organs. We routinely are doing, and I hope you'll ask your doc to grab a CRP, C-reactive protein it's called. It's one measure of inflammation that can just give a little bit of a guidepost as to how you're doing in that regard. The more veggies you eat, the less processed food and starches and, unhealthy fats, you're going to be, the better off you're going to be. The more you exercise, that helps decrease inflammation, assuming you're not having, injury and having all kinds of that kind of inflammation. But I think that this is just another study that suggests that we're now finding that the long-term implications of lifestyle matters matter. And in this case, it's your immune system, your reaction to various threats. And those T cells that come from the thymus are super important in fighting everything from viruses to cancers and keeping you out of trouble. And, oh, by the way, infections of all type. So I ask you the question, are you taking care of your thymus, Drake?
Do you just, this is a little bit different, but you come in here and you say, take care of your thymus and it'll take care of you. Do you just practice your lines on me in between segments?
No.
Are you sure? Because
I don't practice.
Listeners, I think that he's coming in here
roll off my tongue,
practicing his lines and whether I react positively or not. That's how you open up segments.
I'm still trying to, look, your exercise activity level is stupendous. That's a very good thing. One of the constant correlates with health, if you ask any of the longevity doctors, which, by the way, I don't know how long they're going to live. I can't wait to see how that experiment. All these people that are in longevity and selling all this stuff, we have no clue yet. There's no long-term randomized studies on that to see how that's going to work out.
Who was the doc who wrote the book, The Joy of Running, and dropped dead from a massive heart attack?
Yeah, right. Well, he probably had some genetic issues, and those are hard to overcome, but you certainly can do your best to try to play that deck of cards or that hand of cards better. Well, let's see how Taylor Burks is doing. We'll ask him about his thymus and if he has any baggage and other fun things here as we talk about the world of politics, the world of getting elected to Congress.
From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters, it's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team. And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Iranian state media says that Iranian negotiators are no longer exchanging messages with the United States due to Israeli strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, those reports did not address the ongoing rocket fire from Iran's largest proxy, dozens of which targeted northern Israel throughout the weekend. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to strike the Lebanese capital of Beirut, specifically the Dahya neighborhood.
Well, that was before Donald Trump had a little talking to President Netanyahu yesterday, or Prime Minister Netanyahu. Let's see what Taylor Burks, candidate for Congressional District Number 5, redistricted in Missouri, has to say about that, having served in the U.S. military. How you doing, Taylor? Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Randy. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
So this is a back and forth, to and fro dynamic. One day we're on with negotiations. The next day we're off. Then we've got some strikes called defensive actions. Help explain to folks who have not served in the military what it's like to be in the military, sort of in a situation where there is a conflict going on, and what it feels like.
Man, it has been unreal to watch it. As you noted, day by day or even hour by hour, the circumstances are changing in the Middle East, the Straits of Hormuz. One thing that I do know is that I think President Trump and this administration have made clear that the goal is to, we've accomplished our military objectives with Iran, destroying any remnants of a nuclear program that they have, as well as ballistic missile sites. And we've demonstrated a lot of our own new capabilities. So those are the positive things that we've gotten out of this conflict. I also know that President Trump has taken a lot of effort to try to rein in Prime Minister Netanyahu, because it does seem like Israel, every time we get close to an agreement or close to an opportunity to negotiate a long-term agreement with Iran, Israel takes some military action that seems to undermine those conversations. So those are the questions that are occurring. But by and large, the state of the conflict today shows, I think, the strength of the U.S. military in the Middle East. One thing that I do tell people a lot of, and that is, we look at this conflict, we look how we've prosecuted, we've looked at how we've maintained or limited the casualties that the United States has faced in this conflict. And we've done all of this with a peacetime military. And so we should be incredibly proud of our military readiness under President Trump, but also the men and women wearing our uniform who've been able to accomplish our military objectives, even while the diplomatic goal and the negotiated peace continues to change hour by hour.
A strong defense is so very important. We saw the administration float a 1.5, I think 1.3 or 1.5 trillion dollar defense budget recently. Okay, what's your stance on that campaign wise? How would you be voting?
Well, I mean, this is not just a campaign issue. It is a national defense issue. Mark Alford, who now sits on the House Appropriations Committee, he and I are good friends. You know that he and I talk regularly. He and I spoke about the markup for that military portion of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. A lot of this is funding for programs that are long overdue. So this is not a dramatic increase in operating expenses, which is just year by year. A lot of this increase is investment in programs and platforms where we get real assets on the back end of it. More ships, more planes, squadrons that get placed at Whiteman Air Force Base. And building these things do create jobs in the advanced industrial sector, including a ton of jobs here in Missouri. And so I am 100% for increasing our national defense spending. We have seen that a lot of our legacy platforms are long overdue for replacement, and not just replacement for pie-in-the-sky systems, the bloated programs that we've seen come out of the Pentagon for the last 20, 30 years. We need investment in a lot of systems that are proven and in operation now. Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines have all indicated that we need these things, but we have not seen that investment for decades. One example I would give is the missile programs that we have. our inventory of usable missiles, especially surface missiles that we see in the Navy, is so constrained that we don't know what our supply chain pipeline is beyond the next 12 months. We know we have production. We know that what we have is what we have, and it's a struggle to say, hey, this is how we're going to be in a position of strength long term. So a $1.3 or $1.5 trillion defense authorization will allow us to get a lot of these inventories and assets back in place that we've taken advantage of for too long.
That's Taylor Burks, Navy veteran, former Boone County clerk, and he joins us on Wake Up Missouri.
Taylor, a question I think we ask you every time you're on, but it seems like it with the midterms right around the corner. It's an important one. Your stance and your involvement over the years with election integrity.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That's a lot of what I talk about. And even when I was county clerk, I said people don't want to talk about elections when they're running well and smoothly. People want to talk about election integrity when we have concerns, and that is a fair thing to say and do. One of the things that I'm a huge proponent of is the SAVE Act. And these are common sense reforms: proof of citizenship, paper ballots, cleaning up the voter rolls, putting into federal law, a lot of things that we already do here in Missouri. So people have questions about the SAVE Act. You need to understand this is not some extremist desire to kick a ton of Americans off the voter rolls. This is to inspire confidence in our elections. When people don't have confidence in our elections, that's when we really risk losing our republic, losing our democracy. And so these common sense reforms do restore that. And so I'm proud to support that. But I say, having been a former elections official, going to Congress and being a part of policymaking, having that experience running an election goes so much further than the rhetoric, and I would be excited to do it.
Taylor, I think in the light of the context of people in, whether it's Somali leering centers in Minnesota, whether it's hospice abuse in L.A., I think people are beginning to get a little leery of their tax dollars going to fraudulent social programs. Listen to what Thomas Sowell, legendary, of course, black American economist, had to say about, one thing about social programs.
When they talk about things like this, they talk about the legacy of slavery. Right. And I argue, well, empirically, it's not that. It's the legacy of the welfare state. Because as of 1960, which is almost 100 years after slavery ended, the majority of black kids were being raised in two-parent households. But within one generation after the welfare state, that had dropped down to a minority. So that the majority of black kids today are raised in one-parent households. When you think about it, I mean, centuries of slavery and generations of Jim Crow did not destroy the black family, but one generation of the welfare state did.
I can tell you, Taylor, having lived in suburban St. Louis, worked in urban St. Louis, lived in rural, impoverished northeast Missouri, this is not a black-white issue, but what say you about expansion of the social welfare state and its long-term effect on the American family?
Man, what a softball, Randy, because you and I have both lived in places where we've seen these communities, minority communities, gutted by social welfare programs. St. Louis is a prime example. I would say that they're a part of Kansas City, which is in my congressional district, that are a product of that. I would also say that my opponent in this race, Congressman Cleaver, is a product of just the grift that goes on trying to fund these programs. Every single time he talks about politics and the state of America today, he jumps up and down and screams about racism. The most recent one I liked was he was talking about the new Missouri First congressional map, and he was telling black churches that Missouri Republicans are trying to take them back to Reconstruction. And so rather than answer for the state of Kansas City or the state of the black community today, it's just easy to point the finger at racism rather than address the problem, like Thomas Sowell said, which is black communities, black families were stronger before we had all of these social welfare programs that allowed people to not take personal responsibility, but just rely on the government and weaken those family ties and bonds, which are the real economic builders for family and long-term generational wealth.
That's Taylor Burks, candidate for Missouri's 5th Congressional District, joining us on Wake Up Missouri.
Now, we're going to have a very full ballot come August and November.
Yeah.
There are some really important issues. I know you're out there talking to voters. It seems to be top of mind for them since the governor's announcement. What are you hearing from folks about some of those issues that we will see in August and November?
Yeah, I mean, so with the length of our ballot in Missouri, this has always happened. I think when I was county clerk, we had 17 pages of language we had to post on the wall. Like the whole end of my wall in my office was the formal ballot language that voters could read. And so it was ungodly the amount of language that we put on our ballots sometimes. Voters do have some questions. You know, they want to know. There's a level of information that we have to provide as campaigns. We talk about the state income tax, the proposal for the repeal, so Amendment 4. We talk about restoring those restrictions on abortion that we need in Amendment 3. Amendment 5 is an important proposal that's going to be on the August ballot. And then people have questions about even the congressional map. So all of this is the responsibility of people who are in office and running for office to explain what their government is doing. And then for Missourians, if we want the initiative petition, if we want the ability or to change the ability for how we review laws that go through state government, we have to be willing to do the work of being informed voters. And so that's just the nature of what that is. But at the end of the day, what I would say is a republic only endures when people are invested and engaged in their elections. It can be a lot sometimes, and it looks like August is going to be one of those elections where it's a lot.
Taylor, we've been talking this morning about, and we only have a minute left, the baggage that people like Graham Plattner have and, some really flawed candidates on the Democrat side. Want to make sure you're not going to be checking any baggage. We want to just get it out there, any baggage you might have? No?
I get that question a lot. I think the biggest piece of baggage that I have is I was the clerk for the People's Republic of Colombia. As a Republican, that's a challenge when I go to places like Marshall and Sedalia.
Yeah. Okay, and the other thing, we talked in the Make Missouri Healthy again about thymus health. Is your thymus in good health? We always want to know about our candidates' health. Is everything good?
I may need to schedule that test. I have no clue where my thymus is.
All right. Hey, it's always a lot of fun talking with you, Taylor. Thanks for being with us. Look forward to the next convo.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right. Good sport there.
I think Taylor's a cattle farmer. I think his first take on thymus is probably sweetbreads.
Probably
right?
so. Yeah, you're right. And being a U.S. Navy lieutenant commander, I imagine his thymus is in good shape. Thank you very much. When we come back, some good news from SLOTUS. What is that? That is the second lady of the United States, Usha Vance. Some fun for your kids over the summer. And West Virginia University with a walk-off heartwarming chorus coming up on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
It's a really heartwarming little clip I saw on Barstool Sports on X with the entire West Virginia University baseball team. They're swaying back and forth, arm in arm, shoulder by shoulder, little kids, family on the field after they just won, I guess, a game that sent them to some kind of divisional title game or something. And the crowd, too, swaying back and forth. I don't know if that's a tradition there, but it was a very heartwarming thing. And I got to thinking, watching that, how many of those people, I mean, shoulder to shoulder, arms wrapped around arms of fellow fans, how many of those people voted Republican? How many voted Democrat? And at that moment, how many didn't give a rat's you-know-what about it? And, man, we need to see more moments like that in America, especially as we head towards America 250 here. I mean, I think, sadly, I think there's a lot of people on the left, some on the fringe right, who say, this isn't my country. This is a flawed country. We never got it right. It's the negative naysayers. But, man alive, that was a golden moment. We ought to put that up on the Facebook page. We'll put that
West Virginia at the end of their ball games, big ball games, football games, and the whole stadium sings Country Roads.
I didn't know that, but, man, it's good to see. So maybe this is nothing that extraordinary, but wow. And to have the little kids there, the wives are with them, the coaches and the trainers and everyone. It's just really very, very heartwarming.
That's what sports is all about, right? I mean, bringing people together and sometimes apart where it's Kansas.
Yeah, I hate Kansas. Yeah, I like, but Drake brings people together. Drake, right?
Well, I mean, hey, look, if I can tell you a story. I was in Arizona and I saw a guy with a Mizzou hat on, and immediately best friends for the trip. But if I see someone with a KU hat, no.
By the same token, one time we went to a game when Sean and Allie were living in, our son and daughter-in-law were living in Chicago. We went to a game at Wrigley Field, and we had some of the best time just joking around with the Cub fans, and it was the best time ever. One of the best baseball games I've been to, just because we had a lot of fun ribbing one another, and the Cubs ended up winning the game, I think, but it was just a lot of fun. That's the kind of camaraderie. I mean, that sense of, we may have our teams we root for, but, man, we just love baseball. We love the rivalry,
Yeah, I mean, Wrigley Field was where my first beer snake happened, so that place had some memories for me. The rifle age of 17.
Did you see the boo-boo by the Argentina team yesterday?
Yeah, that was good.
Explain.
They posted on their Twitter account, it looks like, Arrowhead Stadium, and then it says, "Welcome to Kansas." And Governor Mike Kehoe clapped back and said, "Welcome to Missouri, Argentina." And this has not been the first time that people get very confused that the Arrowhead Stadium that hosts the Kansas City Chiefs is actually in Kansas City, Missouri.
I want you to hear this from Usha Vance.
I am so excited to announce the start of my 2026 Summer Reading Challenge. If you're in kindergarten through 8th grade, sign up today for a summer of adventure and reading fun. It's really easy. All you have to do is read 12 books, write them down in your reading log, and have your parents or guardian send me the list at the end of the summer.
And you can get a free bookmark and a certificate, and she says a gift, too. That's wh.gov/read. Usha Vance. Good. Get the kids reading.
As America
KC Curry at 8:08, asking the tough questions about this midterm cycle, which, according to all of the polls, is going to be as tough or tougher, especially under the current economic conditions, than historically, when the occupant of the Oval Office often doesn't fare well with their congressional help in those midterms. We'll have to see how that rolls out. We're watching races today from the California governor to Iowa Senate, House governor primaries, Maine, of course, the Senate. This is going to be interesting. That'll be coming up next week. So this is going to be an interesting election season leading up to the midterms, and we'll keep you apprised of everything on the way there. Now, we had a text on the 573-874-9390 line that got Drake a little bit fired up and said basically, shout out to KU baseball who won their regional and going on to the super regionals. He asked the question, is Missouri still playing baseball?
Well, I just did a little
Come
research.
on, you're all about robust,
Well, since 2009, KU has had one single winning football season. One.
Oh, deflect. You should be in politics. This is about baseball.
Well, we're talking about the schools and my hate for the schools. So, I mean, you can't cast stones in a glass castle.
What do you think about this, Stephanie? Should he run for office? He's deflecting. I asked about baseball. The texter asked about baseball, and he's like, oh, look at the football record. Wait a minute, come on.
Now, Missouri baseball Tigers, Drake, had a building year this year.
Yeah, we'll call it that. Hey, what's the Kansas Royals record right now if we're going to talk about baseball? I mean, they are way under 500. I realize Randy doesn't know what the record is.
I don't know these records.
Anyways, yeah, so what, you have a college that can play baseball. Most of the good players go to the pros first.
Really? They bypass college? Unlike football. I didn't know that.
Like the top prospects.
So they go right from high school to pros?
Yeah.
Wow. So they go like to the Springfield Cardinals or no?
Usually like the minor leagues.
Yeah. What is that, AA? No.
Yes.
Yeah, they're AA, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. What, AAA's in Jupiter? Is that right? Or I'm not sure.
Like Memphis is AAA, isn't it?
AAA, that's right.
Well, I'm actually looking at it. They went 5-7 this last season, and that looks like a good year compared to the past 15 years. So, not great for you.
Oh, I tell you, Drake, we love to, all you have to do is mention KU, and Drake's hackles get, they stand up on edge.
As it should be.
Only when texters text in stupid things. That's the only time I really get
are you accusing our texter of texting in stupid things?
Well, I mean, you're bringing up a sport that, the good players bypass. So, I mean, NCAA baseball, I don't think is everything that everyone chalks it up to be, personally.
Hey, so this Los Angeles mayor race, in the polling, I think that Spencer Pratt is like second or third right now, as of yesterday, running in. But he's certainly made a lot of splash. And I think that what other candidates have to be thinking, looking at that insurgent run, which has just been gone viral, is the quality of the products. And I wonder if what his marketing team and campaign management team now is worth. Their stock price no doubt has gone up, Stephanie.
If and only if he comes out successful, right? You can make all the cute videos you want, but if it doesn't translate to the actual, it doesn't chalk up a win, then it's all for naught.
Is it all or nothing? So you don't think that going from 0 to, even if he misses, a close miss is, no? Doesn't get enough cred? Got to win.
Yeah.
Here is a commercial. I don't know if this one was fantastic. So picture this. This is a Spencer Pratt commercial. They show an ambulance driving up to the emergency room department. And then next is a young lady, it's an AI generated, no doubt, laying on the stretcher and it involves a discussion in the ER bay. Here it is.
Oh God, please. My daughter, she's sick.
Spencer Pratt is the common sense choice for Los Angeles. Just look around. The city is a mess and our leaders have failed us. Homelessness, crime, drugs, everything is worse under Karen Bass.
This is bad. She's caught the Pratt. How did this happen?
We restrict her media diet. New York Times, MSNBC, NPR, maybe CNN if we're feeling frisky. Something must have slipped through.
Does she know anyone at all, who thinks for themselves?
I don't know. I don't think so. What is this?
It starts with a mild cough. And then, next thing you know, you hate seeing homeless drug addicts inject near kids. It's very contagious. I'm going to prescribe 4 doses of NPR every hour on the hour, 2 doses of the New York Times, and 5 doses of the LA Times.
Why was Karen Bass in Ghana while the city was burning?
6 doses. 6 doses of the LA Times. We'll have to hold her in quarantine with the others for a few days. It's protocol.
Pretty interesting and pretty ingenious. I don't know who's coming up with these things, but man, they're good. They're really good. 573-874-9390, the number. What kind of a candidate is your ideal candidate? Is it someone who is as fresh and new as Pratt, but doesn't have the baggage as Plattner? Maybe a little more restrained in criticizing people, a little less restrained in, more restrained in criticizing people that he needs, which is, I think, I'm a little bit worried about this with Donald Trump as his administration advances. And we're going to talk with the RNC co-chair, Casey Curry, about that at 8:08.
Yeah, Trump 1.0 is different than the current iteration back when all the other folks who were running for president and all just laughed and said, oh, Donald Trump running for president. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. On the other hand, I'm seeing murmurs of some mistakes that I think he made in 1.0, and I think thus far he had managed better, and that was his relationship with Congress. You know, I think he was pretty chumsy with almost all, on both sides, Senate, both chambers, Senate and House. But we saw the Senate rebuff him and go home early when it came to, funding ICE and Border Patrol week before last. And I think you're seeing people in Congress beginning to say, wait a minute, we're not going to be a rubber stamp. We do have this thing called the balance of powers. We've got 3 equal branches of government, and we don't want to subvert the power of the Congress because we do represent the people in that, or at least they're supposed to. And I hope he doesn't make that mistake, because I think that was a mistake that led to the Senate in particular's failure to undo Obamacare when they had a chance.
Yeah, we'll think back to Trump 1, and it wasn't that rosy. I mean, he had a lot of inter-party battles, and he did get the tax cut bill, that one they got through, but he was tangling with the GOP even then.
No, I'm saying in Trump 45, I think that was a flaw. He got it passed this time, and that's good. He's got to be careful when it comes to the war powers thing. I mean, there are a lot of people that were in the hard, pro-Trump coalition who have a lot to say about this effort in Iran, and they're not happy about it. And
well, looking back the first 2 years of Trump 1, we held the Senate and we held the House.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different era. And if you buy into any of the polling, his approval rate ain't the greatest right now.
Yeah. But I'm thankful for people like Paul Krugman.
We need to defang Trump as much as possible and make sure that neither he nor anybody who follows in his footsteps has power after the next 2 elections.
Isn't that he's talking about politicians that follow in his footsteps. That's Paul Krugman, the discredited, economist. And is he talking about us? Is he talking about people who support Donald Trump's programs and policies? Is he basically besmirching an entire wide swath of the American electorate?
But beyond that, we really
need
to do a thorough purging of the United States. We need a demogrification, and that is, I'm not going over the top by using a word that's very similar to the denazification that we pursued successfully after World War II.
Oh, yeah, he's the demagazation guy, isn't he?
He used the word, we need a thorough purging of the United States. A demagification. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, that if you happen to have admitted that you voted for Trump or put a Trump sign in your yard or put any pro-Trump or pro-administration social media post on, Paul Krugman would like people to come to your house and purge you. Is there any other way to couch that? Does he advocate prosecution of, and at a minimum persecution of, those who support Trump? Wow. It's that's dangerous talk. That is frightening talk from someone who held forth at the New York Times for 20 years. And that, I think, is an example of the lunacy on the left. And I've felt it personally in my own family relationships, not first-degree relatives, but, relatives of relatives. I know you've felt it at work and in your house. If you've said anything positive about Trump, you're demeaned, you're belittled, you're talked of as some kind of idiot, like, what's the matter with you? Are you sick in the head? That's dangerous thought. So that to me is Nazi talk. That's Nazi talk. If anything, that talk should be purged. When you advocate the purging of someone, I don't want something that happened to, in a purging sense, like we think of in the Middle East countries, or ethnic purging. Are we not talking about political purging? Is that what Paul Krugman's talking about?
It's pretty much where he's at when he talks about demagification.
I take that very seriously. Well, but he's just a little old man sitting in his porch just ranting on, so maybe that'll be marginalized. But there are a lot of people who believe that, and they have sympathies on that way. What's coming up when we come back, John?
Don't like chiropractor jokes? You must be hanging out in the wrong joint.
Oh, this will crack us up. We'll be back.
It's Wake Up Missouri
except for this.
23-year-old Benjamin Fragel of Palm Harbor, Florida, in the greater Tampa Metroplex, arrested for felony criminal mischief last week after he vandalized a local marquee sign known for its puns, allegedly. Police say Fragel used bricks and a big tree branch to smash the sign, damaging the letters, the message board, and even the lights inside of it. Sign belongs to the local chiropractor, whose memorable phrases he's posted include, "We never crack under pressure." "It's easier to throw out your back than your mother-in-law." "We won't stop until everyone is cracked up, and our Easter adjustments are excellent," but the message that made Fragel crack, "licensed crack dealer." The arrest report indicates that Fragel thought the statement was illegal. Court records do not corroborate the claim. He was detained while awaiting a court hearing, but the smart aleck public defender assigned to Fragel told him, quote, "Don't worry, I've got your back."
Man, all right. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's good.
That's like some good dad joke puns
I'm
first thing
you.
in the morning, folks.
I've got your back. Licensed crack dealer.
Terrible.
How many good feelings result after a trip to just get some adjustment made? You go over there, oh, baby, feels
As long
good.
as they don't rub you the wrong way,
Yeah.
right?
I know when Ashley and friends at Compass Chiropractic work. Now, sometimes when you get an adjustment, whether it's chiropractic or osteopathic, sometimes it hurts more right after, right? But then, depending on what's wrong. I once in a while, I get a little sacroiliac thing just goes out. I don't know why. That's so weird. Have you ever figured that out? No one's figured out why that happens with back pain. No one. You know, you bend down to get the morning paper and say, oh, my God, you can't walk for 3 or 4 days, you know? And yet you can go and maybe play a round of golf or, you know, chop wood. And it's like, yeah, your back's strained, but it doesn't take you out. And that's, you get a little adjustment here and there, and it might help.
I had a friend who one time used to have a recurring issue that the osteopath had to deal with, and he'd have end up in terrible pain from pull starting the lawnmower.
Oh, yeah. I could imagine. That's an awkward motion because you're bent over.
Yeah.
And you're twisting at the same time.
Kind of off balance almost.
It's an imbalance. You're not planted well, generally. Yeah.
Ooh, and when you tweak your back in that twisting motion, and then you're just like frozen for a few days, and anytime you slightly move or get in and out of the car, you get that like, ooh.
Back pain is such a weird
It's
animal.
horrible.
Did he get that like injured or like hurt by like pulling it or like kicking it because it wouldn't start? 'Cause I've had the latter one. That's what I do.
You may be on the money with that one, for sure. No, I remember it was a recurring deal with it.
Yeah.
It was like he'd end up just about debilitated, couldn't even hardly work. Maybe it was by design.
You know, we've talked a lot about taking care of yourself and prevention, and it's so right that if you take care of your back and do the best you can to try to, you know, like if you lift properly, I think a lot of us forget just basic rules. You know, if you're lifting, lift with your knees, not your back. You know, don't that can strain. And what's the thumbs down, Drake?
Well, I mean, no, you got to lift with like all of your back. You know what you got to do? You have to actually work out your back. That's how you stop these injuries.
And you work out your abs. You do balanced. A lot of people work abs, but they don't work back, right?
Easier said than done, coming from someone who lugged around quite heavy children on my hip and from the side and, you know, in a hurry. That's when I could never keep my back.
Well, whenever you work out, you have a full day for back and shoulders. That's like a thing. And a lot of people don't do that.
Okay, we'll take that to the bank. All right, when we come back, we talk with the RNC co-chair, Casey Curry, about the upcoming midterms, the Iran conflict, economy, what does it all mean? And, redistricting. Stay tuned.
From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters, it's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team. And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
The problem is his judgment, which he clearly has been lacking in as an adult. It's one thing to have foolish, youthful indiscretions, but I'm sorry, you cannot get past. It is not a Nazi-style tattoo. It is the tattoo of concentration camp guards. It is the very worst tattoo you can get if you are getting anything Nazi, and that's a pretty high bar there. So this has been a slow-motion train wreck.
Well, they're not talking about anyone here on the Wake Up cast. It's actually talking about Graham Plattner, and even the left is worried about that candidate. Let's talk with Casey Curry, vice chair of the Republican National Committee, about candidate quality, lessons learned, maybe on the Republican side of the fence in the past, and how it looks for this cycle in the midterms coming up. Casey, thanks for joining us on Wake Up Missouri.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, wow, the Democrats are really scratching their heads over this, and several other candidates around, around the nation. I think, historically, midterms are a challenge for the party in power in the White House. What is your crystal ball telling you in terms of candidate quality on both sides of the fence?
So I will start with the other side and say what a disaster with their candidates. I mean, you let in with Graham Plattner. I mean, this is a guy who has a Nazi tattoo. We're seeing him sexting women, comments he's made on Reddit. He has an active profile on an app that is targeting young girls where he is posting pictures of himself half naked. I mean, and if that isn't bad enough, then you've got this Tallarico in Texas who, says things like God is non-binary, the southern border should be like a front porch. He thinks there's 6 biological genders. And when they ask him what he thinks about and dreams about, he says transgender children. I mean, it's like they could not pick the worst candidates. And meanwhile, on the Republican side, we have put a lot of time and effort into recruiting great candidates. I mean, Republican National Committee, we do not endorse in primaries or get involved in primaries, but our sister committees, the NRSC, NRCC, has been very focused on candidate recruitment and making sure that they're putting great people forward. And we're seeing that, and the president's getting behind some of these people with his endorsements. And so we feel very good going into the midterms.
I've heard analysts say that it was quite costly. A lot of money was spent, in the Cornyn-Paxton primary race in Texas. And, woulda, coulda, shoulda saved some of those bucks for the general. What say you?
Yeah, that wasn't the Republican National Committee. As I mentioned, we don't get involved in those primaries, and people, pick their horse, and sometimes it works out for them, and sometimes it doesn't. And there was a lot of money spent, but I think that's just the nature of the beast right now in these primaries. I mean, Cornyn certainly had served for a long time, and a lot of people backed him. And you have Paxton, who is a known person in Texas. He's been elected statewide several different times, and it was a horse race, and Paxton came out of that. We're particularly given the fact that when you look at Texas as a red state, they could not have picked a lesser appealing candidate in Tallarico. So Texas is going to go great for us in November, and we feel very good.
You said we feel good going into the midterms. Talk to us about what that messaging looks like. Certainly, everyone's feeling the pain at the pump, but I think there are some really big wins on border, on economy, on election integrity. Tell us what the RNC strategy is in messaging to voters about why they should vote red.
Well, and you mentioned some of the biggest things. I mean, America's borders are secure. Crime is way down. If you look, we just had tax season, and Americans are seeing an average of about 10% more money in their pockets with their tax returns. We see that President Trump is the most effective messenger, and he has been out in these swing states. And I think it's important to note, too, that a lot of people don't realize that these midterms are going to be won in a few states. And so our focus is in targeting those areas that we know we can win, and which will which will help us hold the House and the Senate going into November. But yeah, we're feeling a little pain at the gas pump right now, but we believe that's going to work itself out. And President Trump has been right all along on his policies, and we're seeing that play out, with our borders, with crime, with the big, beautiful bill. And so we have had a lot of wins, and we just got to get out and get our message, and that's what we're doing.
That's Casey Crosby. She is the RNC vice chairman, joining us on Wake Up Missouri today on a big election day in the primaries nationally, but certainly we're all looking forward to these midterms with bated breath.
How are you managing the weaponization debate, especially ahead of the midterms?
Yeah, so right now we're just, we're focused on getting through all these midterms at the Republican National Committee. We don't get involved in the midterms once we have our candidate. We go out and we work for those candidates. And, there's several different issues that come up during primary season. But again, going into the general election this fall, we feel very good about what we're doing. And when you look at the Democrat side and what they're doing, they're just a disaster. We saw last week they came out with an autopsy report, and I like to call it the denial report. They can't even mention the fact that President Biden was the worst president in history. They had a flawed candidate in Kamala Harris, and they spent billions of dollars. None of that's mentioned in their report. Meanwhile, the Republican National Committee is raising, we've got about $124 million cash on hand. The Democrats are about $17 million in debt. So, any message that they're coming at us, we're going to be equipped and ready to handle as we move forward later this summer going into the fall.
And speaking of autopsy, Randy, what a gift it is that Jill Biden's out on her book tour
right now
ahead of the midterm.
Yeah.
That's a gift, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when we see President Biden coming out after the first debate with President Trump saying he won that, and now we see Jill Biden during her book tour saying that she thought he had a stroke on stage, but yet she paraded him out at the Waffle House right after, talking about how great he did and how he answered every question. I mean, it's actually pretty disgusting to see, to be honest.
Casey, one of the things that really propelled Donald Trump to his second term in 2024, I think, was the border issue, as in the first time. Certainly the economy. The border now, is pretty quiet. And in fact, the left has tried to flip this on its head and say, oh, look at those evil Republicans and deportations and the way they're treating people in detention centers. Not. Tom Homan toured one and said it felt like, normal, cafeteria lunch. What will be the main drivers of success platform-wise going forward?
Yeah, I think so many of those are still going to be issues. I mean, obviously the economy's huge, and we believe with what we've seen over the past year and a half under President Trump and his policies that they work for the American people. I mean, the border is secure, but you can't take that for granted because we saw what happens with Democrat leadership. And so you can't take for granted. And what they want to do is just create chaos. And we're seeing that, as you mentioned, at these ICE facilities. And, it's almost like they just throw spaghetti at a wall and see what they can get on there that will stick against us. But the bottom line is President Trump's policies are working and working for the American people. And so we have a story to tell going into November. I mean, I cited the big, beautiful bill earlier. Every single Democrat voted against that, and that translated into no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And then when you look at what's going on in some of these cities, my home is Lexington, Kentucky. We have had a shortage of police officers here. And so many of our officers were working, overtime. Now, because of the big, beautiful bill, officers who are working long shifts overtime, are being able to get are being rewarded for that instead of being taxed on it. And so this is translating into real wins for the American people. And so, again, we have a very good storytelling going into these midterms, and we just say, bring it on. We are ready and prepared.
We have to address what appears to be some evolving, I don't want to use the word rebuff, but a little flexing of congressional muscle. We saw that in the Senate, where at the last minute, the ICE funding and Border Patrol funding was tanked because of the White House, wanting some extra money for the ballroom and the weaponization fund. Does that keep you awake at night?
Well, certainly we think that those are issues that should be no-brainers, and that's what keeps us awake at night, is because sometimes some of these just common sense things. I mean, we saw what happened. I mean, we've had a president who has been shot at multiple times, and here we have a ballroom that's going to be a state-of-the-art facility and safe for events that involve our president and our administration, and yet they fight us on it. And we see it across the board with these 80-20 issues, the Save America Act. I mean, that is common sense legislation, and we can't seem to get it through because the Democrats hold up anything that seems just common sense to the American people. And so, well, it keeps us up at night because we'd like to see these policies get passed and go through. On the flip side of it, it's really telling a story about where the Democrats stand, and that they will not do what's right for the American people just to have power. It's really insane.
Yeah, I mean, all of the negatives, they're so, I think, encouraging, despite there's always going to be some fits and starts and speed bumps in any administration. And, yeah, the latest Iran thing, throws a little curveball. But I'm telling you, when you look at the balance in terms of put the pros of this administration versus the negatives and the violence against law enforcement and on the other side, I think it's an easy decision. Well, we thank you for being with us, Casey Crosby. Great work you're doing, and we encourage more and more success as you continue to move forward to the midterms. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Western Kentucky, is that, I don't know, my Kentucky, is that Massey's territory up there? I'm not sure. I don't know. So the RNC really doesn't have much to say about the primaries. That's interesting, even though they're sort of like the master organization of the Republican Party. Explain a little bit more about that. How's the hierarchy of these parties work? You got the.
What do you mean?
Well, the RNC really, it sounds like she's more focused on Trump and, looking forward to the general elections. They don't really get involved in the primaries much. That's interesting.
Well, because everyone running in the primary is someone who is a Republican, right? Like, so they don't specifically pick, just like the state party doesn't get involved in state primaries.
So none of the money mixes, right? There's the senatorial campaign and the congressional campaign. Those are separate funds and separate money, or do you know how that all works? I don't know.
Once there is a Republican candidate, then it will be then he or she will be supported by the Republican parties.
Okay. And they decide to what extent, obviously. Those are some high-level discussions that go on, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, good. When we come back, let's see how the markets are responding to some of the back and forth and uncertainty over the weekend, and with Trump and Netanyahu tussling a little bit over and around. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up
Market's about to open. What's happening on the Morning Bell?
All three major indexes kicked off the month with new records yesterday. We saw the NASDAQ up 0.42%, the S&P up 0.26%, and the Dow up 0.09%. Utilities was down really big yesterday, while we saw technology up pretty big thanks to NVIDIA. As we look at the futures, we are in the red. This could be potentially a response to the turmoil in the Middle East, I suspect. All right, let's talk about something fun. I love a good fast food war, and I love our friends at McDonald's and at Burger King, but they are both announcing some new things. McDonald's unveiled a new corporate strategy called McDonald's Next, which says it wants to win customers back by making restaurants easier to operate, increasing automation, improving hospitality, and leaning harder into social media marketing. So they're focused on business operations, but Burger King has a different strategy, and that is some new menu items. For the first time in 15 years, Burger King is bringing back their famous Crown Nuggets, because you definitely want your chicken in a shape that's really unnatural.
That's right. OG.
They disappeared back in 2011, but they're hoping that it will be beloved by kids like it was before. They're also partnering with Crayola to include crayons and crowns that kids can color to try to push this fast food on young kids. But, Randy, I think you'll be very excited about that. Just this morning, they're announcing they're also adding some summer menu items, including a loaded jalapeno Whopper. I love the jalapenos. An orange Dreamsicle Freezy King. I could skip that. But the firecracker cookie pie.
No.
This new pie is fit for America's 250th birthday celebration. The firecracker cookie pie starts with a sugar cookie crust filled with velvety cream and topped with red, white, and blue star-shaped sprinkles. And it also comes in a special America 250 themed box.
How about that?
I think.
Do you see the picture of it?
No.
It looks almost artificial with all the sprinkles and icing on it.
Well, I think, so I think, again, you see like two different strategies. I think more companies getting in on the America 250 thing they will see success. I think, from small businesses to big franchises, I think that will draw a lot of interest. And so good on Burger King for that. At the same time, I think ultimately, I don't really care what your menu items are if your customer service sucks and if it takes too long to get my food. So I think McDonald's focus on, customer service and operational efficiencies probably makes sense as well.
Where can you get a salad at any one of these places? They seem to have taken those off the menu. I don't know.
Good luck.
Yeah. Why is that? Huh. A lot of people are, health conscious with Maha and a lot of talk about healthy eating, and yet they took the salads off. I thought they'd be maybe returning with some healthier salad options. I don't know.
With their bottom line price points and all, maybe a salad doesn't make much sense. Can't mark it up as much.
I think you're on the money, John. Have you seen the price of lettuce lately? It's crazy.
Is it high?
Oh, yeah.
Even iceberg?
Oh, I don't eat iceberg lettuce.
Oh, well, excuse me. We'll be back. It isn't as healthy. You're right. The darker, greener, the more better. More coming up. Keeping our eyes on what's going on in the Middle East, and we'll be, of course, reporting as things change, as they do. It seems like minute to minute, hour to hour, and day to day. Things are quiet now in Lebanon on the heels of a call between Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump, where it sounds like Donald Trump laid down the law and said, hey, you're getting in the way of my negotiations, because they consider a ceasefire to apply to you and Hezbollah. So settle down. And it sounds like they did. So I don't know whether the talks are going to continue or not. But as of yesterday afternoon or morning, I guess shortly after you guys were off the air, they said, we're not going to be talking anymore. And then that was reversed, maybe. John, sounds like there's a big barbecue down in Jefferson City, right?
Yeah, that's the Foster Care Association folks that I know our sister station, Cat Country and all. Aaron Hart's emceeing the event. It's quite the fundraiser that they do. I know the MFA oil guys, the volunteer barbecuers out of Columbia who do some great pork steaks, are doing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's at the Mill Bottom this afternoon and evening. Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption Association.
Yeah, I mean, come on. If it's summertime in Missouri, it's time for barbecue, right? I don't care if it's for breakfast. You get out the leftover ribs and heat them up. And
and we had a coworker at one time who was a big barbecue fan. She was from North Dakota and had no concept of a pork steak, but we trained her up right.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right, man. Hey, speaking of sister stations, we want to give kudos to Shags from KCMQ, won gold for Best Radio Personality, and the Reader voted Inside Columbia Best of Columbia Awards just out. Silver went to Scotty. Bronze went to Cosmo. Yeah. So there you go.
Keeping it all in the family.
I'm telling you, man, that's good to see, isn't it? That's great. So, that's always a good issue to look for. If you're in the Columbia area and in and around mid-Missouri, you'll want to take a look at some of the winners there and commend those to your perusal. Now, speaking of, and a lot of good restaurants are featured there as well. We got to talk about something that I know Stephanie is very fond of, and that is noisy kids when she's dining, maybe a business lunch or dinner. Right? You like that when there's noisy kids in the table next door?
I certainly do not.
One of your favorites? Well, apparently there's a new survey out that says that 75%, and it's not just Americans, this is an international thing. U.S., Canada, U.K., France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, a lot of diners were polled. And they said that restaurants should offer some kind of adults-only dining experience to avoid unruly kids.
Oh, I've been to one of those places.
That's why you make your reservation for later in the evening, and then hopefully the kids are already in bed. It presents a problem for parents because, I think you got to get your kids to restaurants so you can properly teach them how to behave at restaurants, right? And so they need that experience. I think just not taking your kids out is a mistake, but at the same time, the minute you say, oh, my kids are really good at restaurants, you're going to have a kid who's just having a day and is going to act like a jerk for no reason, even if they're generally well behaved. So, I think we've all been there where we've seen a kid misbehaving in a restaurant or on the street or in an airplane. And we all have bad days and they have different ways of expressing it. And I always feel bad for folks who are in that situation because sometimes you don't, as a parent, you don't really have a choice. You got to you're out of town, you got to feed your kid, you got to get on an airplane to get your kid wherever you're going.
And often, we went on a trip with Tom and Sammy and their little bit, a year and a half old almost. And, about a year and a half, out to Sean's graduation. And I think people, if it's a little infant, I think people are very tolerant if a kid's crying. Yeah, it's annoying, but they're very tolerant. They smile and they have a lot of sympathy and empathy for the mom and dad trying to console the child, But older kids, one commenter on this post said Americans don't hate kids. They hate parents who won't parent. And that's the problem, right? It's become where the kids sort of rule the roost in many cases, and that just can't fly.
Well, and I think, as a parent, responsibly choosing when and what location you go to. Certainly, maybe avoiding the fine dining places where you think adults are trying to have business meetings or a date or whatever might not be the best place to take your young kids. And so I think, being mindful and respectful. But yeah, we've been at restaurants where, kids are playing their tablet out loud at volume 17, or they're like running around. I've been on an airplane where the kid's just like repeatedly kicking the back of my chair. And I'm like, I'm side-eyeing the parent. Like, do you not see this? This is rude. You should discipline your own kid. So yeah, I think it's more about parental supervision that people are frustrated about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the responsibility falls on the parent when it's a young, very young child likely not to make it through dinner, and you take them to a nice place and annoy every other. Just to avoid that in the first place. But boy, when you've got kids that are of age that they should know better when they're told to behave and they don't, that's another story. That falls on the parent too, but I mean, it tells you really something about parenting. It doesn't tell you much about parenting except for judgment and where you're taking them if they're a 1-year-old that's going to cry.
No, I think Steph nailed it when she talked about, some upscale dining place and all that's, not really designed to be the Chuck E. Cheese where the kids are kind of encouraged to run wild through the place and play video games.
It's really interesting to John, Stephanie, to look at the comments. And Drake, this is interesting. A lot of commenters on this thread, on this post, say boomers upset that their romantic dinner at Chili's, well, that was snarky, is being interrupted by the families that pay for their Social Security. Wow. I've never seen a more boomer headline than this, says another commenter. This is not a boomer issue. This is about civility and courtesy. I remember when we had to take the kids we took them up to a conference when they were very little in Chicago, and Helene had I don't forget how old one of them was. It was Sammy or Shannon, less than a year old. And inevitably they started crying. So I took the kid outside the restaurant and Helene ate and then I ate. I wasn't going to annoy other people, right? We just weren't going to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, we can disagree on parenting styles, but I think that kids should have a healthy fear of what the consequences are. Especially, you were talking about older kids, and mine are kind of getting into that age. And I mean, they know that I'm not messing around, right? And so, I tell them, like, I already paid for your ski lift ticket, but it's already paid for. So like, I don't care if you act like a jerk or you're being unsafe. Like, you could sit at the bottom of the mountain and it won't hurt my feelings. Your feelings are going to be hurt. But, and I think the same, like if you can't behave yourself in a restaurant or behave yourself on a trip, then we won't do that anymore, and so, or you will suffer some other sort of consequence. Yes. You won't go to the summer camp that you want to because I can't trust you, outside of my to maintain your behavior without me present or in public situations. So, those are all like trust level issues that you have to demonstrate you can act responsibly, both in my presence and out of my presence, or you start to lose those luxuries.
Accountability is the only way we learn, right? From the day we're born to we die, right?
And again, I'm sounding very kind of like, I tell my kids this. But again, like whether you're talking a small kid or an older kid, they get overstimulated just like we do, right? So even older kids who are normally well behaved are tired, are cranky, and have a bad day. So I think some grace also, because the minute I say my kids are well behaved in airports, one of them's going to act like a jerk.
Moral of the story, if you're going on a business lunch or a meeting or, a date, just go to Hooters. I mean,
there you go.
I don't know about that.
Kids won't be there. There you go. Go to Hooters.
Kids like wings.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of, and there's like, there's a lot of family-friendly places to go. And, I know that my kids will be better behaved if there's something active for them to do.
Yeah, so Hooters.
But yeah, not Hooters, but like we drove out to Colorado and I didn't stop at a Chili's. I stopped at like a place that served food that had a bowling alley and an arcade. And I'm thinking, okay, like I can eat good food and my kids can, we've been sitting in a car for 8 hours. They're not going to want to sit down at a lunch. This will, keep them busy. So I think it's also about like strategic parenting choices.
Well, here's some good news about fast food. As I check the text line, Gary says Wendy's has 3 salads that are all surprisingly pretty good for fast food. Well,
yeah,
there you go.
I was saying, Culver's has some good salads. I mean, you can find a good salad. A lot of our local places that I walk to in downtown have really good salads. So salads feel like I'm on a diet, though, so I usually...
If I see anyone go to a fast food place to get a salad, it's on site.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, what are you doing?
Bring one from home. You want a salad that badly, right?
I'd rather eat like half of a wrap or half of a sandwich and just eat less than eat a salad. Salad feels like a punishment, generally.
Well, we talked about candidate quality in more than one segment earlier, and how both sides. You mentioned, Stephanie, that the Republicans learned on the midterms last time that candidate quality matters, and the Democrats seem to be learning it this time, between whether it's incumbents like Karen Bass or whether it's this Graham Plattner crazy dude up in Maine. That matters. But Paul makes an interesting observation. People get the government they deserve. It seems like we're getting the bottom of the candidate quality barrel. Maybe we're just reaping the reality of that old adage. Both sides are running candidates that lack common sense and values, says Dwayne. So it seems to be a bipartisan problem with candidate quality. But again, we have an option to elect them or not. And, if it's a presidential thing, a caucus them or not, right? You can get out and have your voice be heard, at least so far in these United States. Well, let's step aside, and when we come back, we'll wrap her up on Wake Up Missouri for a Tuesday morning. The weather's looking pretty nice. Mostly sunny today, tonight partly cloudy, tomorrow sunny. Ooh, nice. Need to dry up a little bit from the downpours over the weekend and a very wet May. 8 inches in May, I think. Yeah, it was pretty big. We'll be back.
Yep.
It's Wake Up.
In the time we have left, it's time to get some stuff that we have not yet approached through the show. What do you have, John?
We have an interesting one coming up next week. It's a redo next week to decide the mayor's race in Lynn in Osage County. Turns out about 40 voters will decide between Michael Tresser and Dustin Flam. The voters not included in the initial vote, turns out, had just been annexed into the city. So those 40 folks get to do a revote, and there was about a 26-vote margin on the way it stood. So that's a one-day thing at one polling location in Lynn a week from today.
Holy cow, isn't that something?
Yeah. And then the clerk there said, well, we didn't get the word on the annexation about those people now being part of the metro.
All politics are local.
There you go. More local than you know, I guess.
What do you have, Drake?
Well, yesterday was the first day of the NFL year, so a lot of deals got done. Big blockbusters like Myles Garrett going to the Rams. He's the defensive player of the year. One of the best players in the league. Just went to the best team.
From whom?
The Browns.
Wow.
So Gary Nolan will love that one.
What'd they have to give up for that? Was it a trade?
A first-round pick, one of their D linemen, and I believe another second-round pick. But a familiar name that we might have heard is Juju Smith-Schuster signed a one-year deal with the Giants. So,
wow.
That'll be interesting.
Receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. is back. So, it's just crazy.
Odell Beckham.
Do you not know who OBJ
like
is?
Bend it like Beckham? A different Beckham. Not this.
Randy, you're not
football.
You're not allowed to talk football ever again.
Who is this Beckham guy?
He's a wide receiver. He's like the guy. He's
the GOAT.
You know Randy Moss? Have you heard of him? Of course. He's like the modern age Randy Moss.
Oh, he's the man.
Yeah. One-handed catches, just beautiful.
Back to the Giants for Odell.
Yeah, it's
Chiefs
crazy.
Not making any gargantuan moves. Yeah.
No, not really.
So this was the first day yesterday. Is that pretty much the only day, or do things continue to roll on and new things happen?
Well, the reason it happens on that day is because a lot of contracts are structured so like that's the first day that those contract years go out so they can make better deals for cap room. There's a lot of it to go into the weeds of, but we won't do that.
I don't know. It's really, we talked about it last week, but it's really interesting when you ask people. I've started asking folks. So how are your sentiments towards the Chiefs now that they're moving? Not for a while though. What is it, 5 years? It's going to be a while.
Yeah, but
man, it's amazing how it's like a light switch. People have just sort of like, I don't think so.
The Hunt brothers are the stupidest people ever. Or not Hunt's brothers. Geez, that's a pizza chain. The Hunt family might be the stupidest people ever, just period, because they are taking the most loyal Missouri fan base and making them hate the Chiefs. That's the worst thing you could have done.
Yeah, pizza.
Well, we're hearing from Coach Reed and the folks that they're looking for a week one Patrick Mahomes being ready to go.
Wow.
Not my quarterback.
No, you got the second team guy who I think he could have a good year if they need him for sure.
Yeah, I mean you got two great other quarterbacks. You got what's the rookie's name? Garrett Nussmeier. That's right. Yeah. Maybe throw him out there. We'll see a couple preseason games with him.
Chiefs got Kenneth Walker III. They're looking for big things for him. So don't put the Chiefs out of it quite yet.
Kicker's still back with him, right? Big Butner, he's still with him, right?
Yep. What's his name, Randy?
Not Butner. What's his name?
Butner?
The kicker. What's his name? The
Butker?
Butker. Well, Butner,
butt kicker.
Yeah, Butner. That's crazy. You're not allowed to talk football ever again.
I have some neighbors at the farm named Butner. Well, Butker. What's an N versus what's a consonant among friends? Yeah.
And Drake, how many more weeks for Rashid to be cooling his heels in jail before he can get out and start doing his workouts?
I thought it was like a month, so I guess it's 3 more weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that though. You know.
Cardinals they lost to Rangers last night.
We don't want to talk about
They're
that.
beginning to slump a little bit, but I think they'll surge back. They'll surge back. They've shown the capability. They've shown the capability, and that's the nature of a young team They surge, but then they have a little.
I'm gonna cut the show off 30 minutes or 30 seconds early if you keep on talking bad about my.
Got to point out
I'm
that
not
Drake's,
talking bad. I'm
Drake's
optimistic.
Royals won too.
Oh, they're Drake's Royals. Have you adopted the Royals now, Drake? I didn't know that.
Yeah, John's not talking for the rest of us.
Hey, remember, he controls your mic, John.
Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow, King, if Drake will let us. See you then. Bye.